Thanks for downloading another segment from the Best of the Classic Metal Show. The Classic Metal Show is heard live on Saturdays from 9 p.m. to 3 a.m. Eastern, exclusively at www.theclassicmetalshow.com. And now here's another piece of Classic Metal Show history on the Best of the Classic Metal Show.
The Classic Metal Show.
It's your Classic Metal Show right here on theclassicmetalshow.com. That's brand new stuff from the great band Great White, that one called All or Nothing. And the guy that puts everything there is on the table every night when he goes out there to play, it's the one and only Mark Kendall of Great White. Mark, how are you, man?
How's it going? How you doing?
Real good, Mark. Well, Mark, first of all, man, it is great to hear that Great White is back with a new release. And, from everything that I'm hearing, I haven't heard the whole thing yet, but from what I'm hearing, it's more of a down and dirty, heavier record for you guys. Is that kind of what we're looking at here with the new one?
A little bit, we usually just write, we just write like crazy, and then what makes it. We don't ever like predetermine what kind of record we're going to make, but it just kind of turned out that way. Yeah, there's still the a couple mellow things on there, but it's kind of different, a different look. Like the mellower stuff's more like one song's kind of like gospel blues kind of deal. It's not like a save your love sappy ballad kind of deal. So overall, I'm pretty happy with it. It was good because when we made the last record, it had been talked about getting all the original guys together and stuff, but I didn't really hear about it. But I was living in Utah at the time, producing bands and stuff, and I was kind of bartering myself. I go, okay, if you get a huge record deal down the road or whatever, you can kick me down, but for now, just give me free studio time.
Right.
and so I was writing a lot of music, and so when we got the band together, we were kind of emailing our ideas back and forth, to where this was more like we were all together and writing like the old days, So it was kind of cool, we put it together pretty quick, and the way you record now, it's not like the old days with the tapes and everything, so it goes pretty fast.
Sure. Now, Mark, obviously I'm going to go backwards a little bit here. Sure. Obviously back to the Rhythm was I don't know, maybe outside looking in, this is a perception, but it seemed like that album, because of everything that had happened, obviously with the fire and whatnot, that was a more important record for you guys, just because in a way, you guys almost had to reestablish yourselves. Was it indeed that way, and did it do its job?
I think it did its job for the most part, but one of the things, at least for me, that didn't quite get there was the fact that all of the material wasn't brand new. Some of it, about 4 or 5 songs, came from leftover material from 1999 when we recorded Can't Get There From Here for Sony.
Okay.
And so for me, it didn't feel fresh, half of it, you know what I mean?
Sure.
For the most part, we did, it was new music, but this was all brand new music, and that's what was really cool, was, is that everything was fresh and new.
Sure.
And, when you re-record something, it just doesn't have the, that fresh feeling, that fresh energy, This was cool. This was cool and we wrote old school, like we used to a long time ago, which was, I just come up with riffs. Jack and I get together. He writes the words, and we kind of went back to the way we used to do it when we were struggling. So it was kind of cool. We went back to that way, and the energy of the band itself is really good right now, and we love hanging out, and so. I guess there's something to say about that too,
Well, sure, man, and that's probably the biggest thing for any band, is that it really gets to a point for most bands that have 20, 25 years of history to where they lose track of what it was that made them a great band in the first place, because, you know, obviously you make some money and you grow apart, and, you know, your time away after being on the road for 6-8 months together or whatever is your time away. And
right.
and maybe is that indeed what it was with Great White there in the middle years? You know, I mean, not that these albums were bad, but if you look at something like Sail Away as an example, that is very far away from, you know, Shot in the Dark.
Now, that's funny that you mentioned that record, because that was the only time in the band's history that we had a preconceived idea on how we wanted the record to be. And it wasn't us. It was coming from our manager, and it was really weird. You know, all of a sudden, what were the Eagles? What's the deal now? and you know, and we had like stools on the stage and all this stuff. It was like, it was really goofy period for the band. But, you know, I think we keep making new music so it's exciting for us to play live. You know, if we go out there and we're like an oldies band, we're not going to be as pumped up as we are. You know, we just don't want to go out there and play Once Bitten Twice Shy every night. I mean, so to keep it fresh for us, we have, you know, parts in the set where I get to stretch out and jam and stuff, so it's not like just going out there playing the CD every night. You know, we get the crowd involved with the band. But yeah, you're talking about going back to the old school and remembering what it was like when we were grinding. Jack and I actually talked about it, and because it was almost like we had a flashback. We used to go in his mom's backyard, you know, we used to call it, we used to get beer, and like we called it inspiration in a can and all this,
right.
You know, although it's coked now, but you know, but it still was like that, and that, you know, when you kind of relive that, it just made it like, God, this is the way we used to do it. I remember, yeah, this is great, you know.
Sure.
And, you know, we get all wound up, too, if we need one line in a song, and we go to the liquor store or go somewhere, and I come up with an idea, and the Jack goes, oh, yeah, that one part's cool, but what about if we did this, you know? And you know, so it's that kid energy that, you know, makes it fun, you know? Right,
definitely. Now, with the new album, Rising, Mark, is it, for you as a guitar player, and this is something you actually had said on the Takeover show that you did for us, but one of the things you had said was that any music that you wrote from that point forward was going to be stuff that you played more from the heart versus playing to fit. Is that indeed where you're at now with Rising, with that the pieces that you're playing are just where you're at that moment?
Yeah, absolutely. And I just, you know, it's funny because I had a lot of ideas, but I didn't know we were going to go record that quickly. I thought we were going to take some time off, and, you know, all of a sudden Jack calls me and he goes, oh, yeah, Michael's at the studio and Audie's playing drums and, you know, they're doing basic tracks. I go, to what songs? I go, you know, and I go, I better get my ideas together here, you know. So I put what I had, you know. I'm always jamming riffs at sound checks and stuff, you know.
Right.
And I hate to have to feel like I have to go, hey, you guys, check out this idea I have for a new song and get all verbal and stuff. I just like to play a riff and have the band come in, you know what I mean?
Sure.
And you know, kind of speak through the music, if you will, without having to make a big deal. Like, oh, let's have a band meeting, and I'm going to go play these new riffs for you guys, and it's going to be fun, you know. I just like to play a riff, and I guess if they don't come in, they don't like it. If they go, what's that, you know?
Right.
So that I kind of had a lot of that stuff, and I kind of had to finish it. But I was pretty pleased with just the energy level of the band. And, you know, like Audie goes, God, I haven't played a song like this. We have one song that's way up tempo and, you know, 142 beats a minute type, you know, slamming.
Cool.
Audie's like, whoa, dude. He goes, I haven't played a song like this since I played with Tracy G, like in 1980, you know.
Wow.
And so it was fun, you know. I mean, we don't want to sound old, you know. We want people to know that, you know, we still want to rock, you know.
Sure, right on, man.
But you're always going to get, you know, you're going to get some of the Great White, you know, our signature sounds here and there because of the whole band's input, you know. That's what makes it sound like a band is everybody, you know, kind of puts their ideas in. That's the other thing is everybody seems to be more accepting of someone, or at least listening better when someone comes up with an idea, and I really like that. It makes it makes less tension, you know, like egos are a thing of the past type of deal or whatever.
Sure.
And it just makes it a lot more stress-free and not like we're working, more like we're, you know, playing, you know, having fun.
Sure. Well, I wanted to address a rumor with you too, Mark. I have no idea if this is real or not, but it's something I had heard. I had heard that that you guys were supposed to be on the Poison tour last year with Dokken and Sebastian Bach and obviously Poison, but Jack's health prevented that. Is there any truth to that? And if there is he okay?
Actually, not. Actually, that isn't truth. What happened is when we were first supposed to go on the previous year, all of a sudden, you know, obviously we need X amount of dollars to make it make sense for us to leave our homes, you know what I mean?
Well, sure.
And everything was going to be fine, and we were going to be in the second slot, and then they were going to have, you know, whoever else the opening acts were going to be or whatever. But we were going to play right before Poison, and everything's fine. It was set. Everything was great. And then Rat came in, and because I guess they really made the type of offer that Poison could no way even like negotiate. It was like beyond the used car salesman kind of, you know, amount of money they wanted. So that's when we had the gig. And then Rat came back with a way lower offer, and so they were going to take over the middle, you know, the slot right before Poison played. And we were going to play before them, but they made the dollars so low that it'd be better for us just to go, you know, do something else. So that's what happened that year. Then last year, everything was set again, and I think, you know, Brett Michaels, he kind of got involved with the
VH1.
The foundation, like, you know, the fire stuff, and,
yeah.
I think he might have been concerned about his image
a
little bit. You know, he's got the TV show, he's got this image to protect. So, and then he was doing stuff. You know, now 5 years or so later, he's starting to do. He comes forward and does what do you want to call it? You know, stuff to do with the fire, just raising money.
Oh, yeah, okay, like charity work.
And whatever. So he got involved with that, and then to have us on the tour, it probably wouldn't look good for him, maybe he was thinking, so it was like kind of political.
Okay.
And we were fine with that. You know, we're just happy that other bands are getting involved, you know, with the Station Family Fund and stuff, because we were begging on our hands and knees for years for bands to get involved and help out. You know, it could have happened to anybody. So, you know, let's, you know, as peers, you know, let's help out these families kind of deal. And nobody wanted anything to do with it. And now enough years have passed, and I really don't care what the reason is, but I'm really happy that the bands are getting involved with that now. And if it means us not going on tour with Poison, that's fine too, you know.
Sure.
But that's just my take on it. You know, I don't know how Brett thinks, or, you know, so you know, the guy's cool with me, so you know, I really couldn't tell you exactly what happened, but it wasn't health related.
Okay. Since you brought up the Station Family Fund, I mean, I mean, obviously it's been years now, and I don't think 100 years can go by that'll probably diminish it for you guys or the families or anybody, and, you know, it is what it is. But what do you think, or do you even pay attention to it anymore when you guys get slagged? I'll say slagged by like the Blabbermouth crew every time the band's name is mentioned. You know, does that bug you, or do you guys just avoid it, or do you just write it off as people are douches, or what?
I must not really pay attention to that. I don't even know what Blabbermouth is.
Oh, it's a news site. It's where.
Oh, okay. For the most part, especially the fans, they've always been so supportive, and we understand that there's going to be a percentage of people that are, going to say things or slag us or whatever. But
right.
That's all fine. We really don't get too wound up about that.
Right.
I mean, I've heard negative things, and I guess it's all part of the healing process or whatever. People need to say what they need to say, and
Right.
So whatever.
Sure.
I'm just all about. I've always been about just doing what's right, trying to help people, and it was a horrific night and a horrific accident, and we're trying to move on, but you also don't want to forget about the families and everything. So.
Right. Very cool. Well, Mark, looking at the new record, man, one of the things that I did notice about Rising is that you have a change in bass player this time. What happened to Sean, and how does Scott enter the picture?
What happened was Sean. He got really involved with a lot of different projects, acting, this, that, and the other, and it was getting to the point where he really couldn't totally commit to shows from week to week.
Oh, wow.
And we would have to get a bass player at the last minute, which meant I had to drive way out and rehearse, and you know what I mean?
Right.
So that was one of the problems, and and Sean's this dude, he's a really great bass player and a great guy, so he just kind of got too busy with too many projects, so we just said, why don't you go off and just, do your thing. In fact, Jack went to one of his shows. I mean, it was like a play. I mean, he was like singing his lines, all graceful, dancing, all the, you know what I mean?
Right.
So, he really got into that, and, we just didn't want to have to get, a different bass player without notice, and so we just decided, Sean, why don't you go off and do what you do, and we'll just get another bass player. So we got a bass player that actually filled in for him one time, and the dude can really play. He's a great singer. He fits in perfectly. He's got the right attitude, and he can really sing good. He plays just monstrous, and so that's the name of that tune. I don't know what it is about bass players, dude. It's amazing. I think we've had more bass players than any band in probably the history of rock and roll.
Nice. Well, let's play the game. Let's see how many you can name.
It's the revolving door bass player, man.
I'm looking at the list on Wikipedia, and there's, let's see, there's Lorne Black, there's Tony Montana, there's right. Teddy Cook. Then Sean, of course.
Sean.
And then, let's see, where are we at here? And then Chris Barretto.
Right.
And then David Felice.
Correct.
And then Scott Pounds.
Scott Pounds was in the band for a while.
And then Sean comes back.
And
now Scott. What's that, 8?
Now Scott. Yeah, see? I mean, that's amazing. We're really going to be, I mean, and it's weird, way a long time ago, I mean, when you think of like Led Zeppelin or whatever, and we always wanted to keep the same members, so it's not by our doing, it's just unfortunate,
Right.
But, I know when I go see my favorite band and there's a different guy, you get a weird feeling, it's like, who's that guy?
Right.
And, so I hope people can handle it,
Sure. Well, I mean, for the most part, the lineup is intact, though. I mean, at least for the last 5 years.
I mean, exactly. I mean, we've had the same guys in the band since like 85, So I mean, it's not like, the bass players just come and go. Those little 4-stringers.
Yep. So either it's an immensely hard job to play bass in Great White, or you and Jack are really hard to deal with.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably a combination. But, one time I remember one year, and my wife and I were talking about this last night because I don't know how it came up, but something to do with Stryper, and I go, oh yeah, that Stryper guy auditioned for us once. It's funny because it was the bass player. Because when Teddy Cook, that era, when he got in the band, we auditioned like 20 bass players. It was just an absolute nightmare. And so a lot of guys, I mean, even Rudy Stars, though, I mean, you know,
Wow.
and it was insane the amount of bass players that we auditioned. But
That's funny.
And Teddy just seemed to kind of fit, you know, for the time until we got on the road, you know, because he's a great guy, and I'm still in touch with Teddy, and he's just a really great guy. But you know, when you're on the road, it's, you know, it kind of gets tense sometimes, and this guy was constantly wound up, you know, Teddy.
Right.
To where if he misplaced his toothbrush, he went into this like nervous breakdown. You know what I mean? It was really incredible. I mean, but anyways, so yeah, that's it. We got old Scott, and he's working out, man. He's pretty laid back dude.
He'll be here for a year, and then you'll have somebody else.
yeah, he's going to be for this tour.
Yeah, exactly. Well, speaking of this tour, man, what are you looking at for the year? I mean, what's the Rising tour looking like?
So far, you know, I heard we got 20 plus shows, just you know, fly-in dates, but some stuff in Europe is being worked out. I don't have any details yet.
Okay.
I know that we're playing a few shows with Udo from
Accept
and stuff, and we're doing some stuff on our own. Last year we went over there for about a month. We want to try to do a little longer in Europe, but
okay.
So that's all being worked out now. No big tours yet, but we are looking at stuff, and you know, if something makes sense, we will be ready to rock.
Sure. Now, are you guys trying to get on some of these monster packages, your Rocklahomas or Rock on Wild, or those? You're on Rock on Wild, right?
We're playing Rocklahoma, so we usually try to play a lot of as many festivals as we can.
Sure.
We didn't play Rocklahoma last year, but we are confirmed for this year. So
that's cool. Now, how is that festival for a band like yourselves? I mean, is it truly good for you guys, or is it really kind of sparse? You know, because I'm assuming that you guys probably play about 7 o'clock, not at like 10:30 or whatnot, right?
Dude, it's awesome. I'm telling you, we played there, and it was really, really cool. I mean, you just feel like you just rewound time. You see all the people, and you know, plus we do play a lot of festivals. I mean, we played with ZZ Top and Cheap Trick and whoever. I mean, you know, in the summers, and you know, people are showing up, so it's pretty sweet.
Very cool, man.
That Rocklahoma is kind of cool because it's all 80s, you know, so you run into a lot of friends, and it's just good seeing everybody, you know.
Sure. Well, Well, man, obviously, man, with being out there and touring around and stuff, and like you said, you're running into a lot of people. Are there some bands that you've obviously toured with here in the last, I don't know, I'll say since 2000? And I'm not asking you to name names, but are there some of the bands that are kind of living past their prime and really should maybe pack it in?
No, actually, for the most part, I'm really shocked how good everybody's playing.
Okay.
You know, it's amazing. Like, for instance, years and years ago, and I don't even know what year it was, but I remember playing with Brittany Fox over in Europe.
Okay.
Now, I know that they have a lot of new members. I think the bass player is the only guy in the band. But I was on the behind the stage. You know, we were going to play right after them, so I was kind of watching their show a little bit. And they were, I mean, they were solid, man. I mean, you know, it's like almost every band, and maybe it's because we are getting old. Everybody wants to play good. You know, I don't know what the deal is, but for the most part, you know, I mean, you might see, at worst case scenario, like, you know, some people might be, you know, a little overweight, but that, you know, that comes with age and whatnot. But so maybe the image isn't maybe quite as cool as it used to be or whatever. But for the most part, I think everybody's playing really well. You know.
Sure.
That's what I've really noticed is like, and I think it's because, you know, everybody's kind of partied out their youths, if you will,
Okay.
and so they're not like drinking 14 beers before they play, you know?
Right.
So that could, maybe, you know, everybody's just kind of not so sloppy, you know?
Yeah, it could be, man. That's funny. Well, all right, Mark. Well, the new album is called Rising, and where can people find out about Rising and about Great White?
Well, you know, I've heard it's going to be, you know, like stores like Kmart, Best Buy. I'm sure you can get it on the internet. You can go to frontiers.com. I've heard that they've already released it in Europe. I think it won't be out here until April or something. So I don't even know the exact release date, but that's what I've heard. But I know that you can go to the Frontiers label. A lot of fans I've seen just on my MySpace and stuff like that say they've already ordered it. So, you know, Amazon.com, you know, all those, you know, it's all about the internet, I guess.
Right, I hear you, man. Well, Mark, before we let you go, man, we always let the artist pick a closing song. So, what song should we end with, and why should we end with that one?
Off the new record?
Well, I only have 2 songs from the new record, and I played one of them, so we could play the other one.
Let's go with Rock Me, just because that was kind of the first song. You know, we made. I mean, every time that we got a record deal, we had to prove ourselves in some way, and that was really the first album we made for a major label without having to come with some kind of demo, you know?
Right.
So that's when Capitol took the risk, and that was the first song they kind of put out and stuff, and so it was kind of a staple of our comeback, you know, after the Judas Priest era and all that. So that'd be sweet.
All right, well, then let's do it.
Rock Me.
Then let's do it. It is Great White, of course, and this is Rock Me right here on your Classic Metal Show.
Thanks for checking out the Best of the Classic Metal Show. You can tune into the Classic Metal Show live every Saturday night from 9 p.m. to 3 a.m. Eastern, exclusively at www.theclassicmetalshow.com.
Classic Metal Show.